Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So it's early in the morning and there aren't a lot of pollinators out just yet, but this is the hottest part of my garden. This is my backyard. It is south facing along my patio. And so right now it's in full bloom. It's a pollinator magnet. I've got sedum and unplugged white salvia, and there's some perovskia and agastache and all kinds of great pollinator things back here. But there's one thing that's just kind of bringing me down. It's just not doing it for me anymore. It is this plant here. It's a perennial hibiscus. So the problem with perennial hibiscus is, especially this variety, it comes into flower so late. So I wait so long. So this is more or less a bare spot in this garden until like mid to late June, and then it starts waking up, which is pretty much the case for perennial hibiscus anyway. They're very late to rise, and then I loved it. It's a variety called French vanilla. It's beautiful, but it flowers so briefly and then it goes back to looking just twiggy again. And for this space where everything is so, I mean, look, it's just so in flower, and it'll stay this way until frost. I mean, it just keeps bringing in the pollinators. This space in my garden is so full of life in the late season landscape. So what I want to do is take out that perennial hibiscus, and I've been wanting to do it for a couple years, and I wasn't sure what I wanted until I was out in Oregon with Bailey Nurseries, First Edition Shrubs and Trees, and I saw the thing that I absolutely wanted for this space. And this is it. So this is a Easy Elegance rose from Bailey Nurseries called All the Rage. And you guys, when I saw this out in Oregon, and by the way, Oregon is the rose capital of the United States. They have phenomenal roses. Whew, I'm out of breath. This is a variety called All the Rage, and it's an Easy Elegance rose. And there was a field of them. I mean, never have I experienced a rose field like I did out in Oregon, and this one jumped out at me. There were plenty that caught my eye, loved all of them, but I do tend to gravitate toward the single varieties. I love their pollinator friendliness. And look at you guys, it's getting on, mid to late September. I put this in a container. I found this at Home Depot actually. I found one. Actually there were more, but I was thinking of putting this in another space. But then I put it in a container on the patio, observed it for the rest of the summer, and it is just continuing to flower. Now, I think you can see why I would want this in this space rather than the perennial hibiscus, because it's going to give me more interest all summer long. I mean, well into fall. So I'm not quite sure as far as, what fall interest will look like as far as rose hips go. I know the Oscar Peterson they note the production, the juicy rose hips on that one. I don't know if this is going to do that so much, and I really don't care because it is flowering. There are pollinators all over these flowers, and it's just so fragrant, and I loved it. So I thought this is a great replacement for the perennial hibiscus. So the only thing I'm kicking myself about is having not bought two, because like I said, I was going to put this in a different space in the garden when it occurred to me finally that, you know what, I'm going to put it here. And the thing is, with my patio, I like symmetry. So what I have on each corner is the same. I've got Centennial Blush Magnolias on each corner of the patio. And then I've worked my way in. So each side, it's kind of if you were to fold them together, it's a reflection. They would match up, because I've got the French vanilla perennial hibiscus on each side. There's agastache, there's perovskia, the Matrona sedum. So it's a mirror image. So having only bought one, wish I had bought two, I'm going to just dig out both of the French vanilla hibiscus, but I'm going to plant this one right now. And the beauty of the Easy Elegance roses is its own root, so I don't have to worry about a bud union and that being hardy and planting it at the right depth for my growing zone. I'm simply going to plant this at the same level that it's at in the container that I bought it in. I transplanted it into this container on the patio. I'm just going to keep everything the same. Dig this guy up, put a little bit of compost in there and some starter fertilizer that I like to use from True Organic, and water it in and wish it well. So next spring I'll be on the lookout for another All the Rage rose, but I think this is hardy. I don't think I mentioned that, but this is also hardy. It's hardy in zones 4 to 9. So technically I was thinking I would keep this in a container through the winter time. I'm a zone 5B, 6A, so I was gonna put it in a protected site on the patio and just keep it in a container for the winter time because it's that 2-zone rule. So if like being a zone 6A, you should be able to keep things in a container over winter if it's hardy to 2 zones lower than you. So this is hardy to zone 4, so technically it should be fine, but I'm not gonna have to do that this winter because this guy is going in the ground, which means next spring, I'll be on the lookout for another one to match it on the other side of the patio. So first things first, I'm gonna get this out of the way and get after the hibiscus, cut it to the ground and dig it out. There's no real easy way to film this. It's such a tight spot with the Centennial Blush Magnolia here, and then I've got all kinds of perennials around it. But all the rage rose gets to be about 3 feet tall, a little bit give or take, and then about 2 to 4 feet wide, which is perfect because I've got this very upright growth habit of the Centennial Blush Magnolia, and then I've got some Profskia around it. I mean, it's gonna fit in this spot perfectly. And then I don't know if you can see this in the camera, you can't, but I have Jewels of Opar that I sowed years ago on the other side of the patio, and it's popping up in here. It is so pretty. I collect the seeds from it every year and just kind of sprinkle it wherever, and it makes such a great filler plant. And interestingly enough, I never know where it's going to pop up, and I've got several little plants of it right here with these beautiful little seed heads all over it. Well, that wasn't too difficult. This has been in here for about probably 5 years. And what I like to do is I live in an HOA, so I can put out on our community Facebook site that I have a certain plant variety available. I give the quantity, and I explain where it would best be where it could best be planted, and I put it out by the curb, and people come by and pick up my plants. So my plants end up all over my neighborhood, which makes me feel kind of good because they're getting another life in someone else's garden where they're going to be loved and appreciated. And it's funny how, you know, when I found these plants, I fell in love with French vanilla hibiscus at the time. And gardeners are so fickle. We just kind of fall in and out of love with plants all the time. And my philosophy is, if it's not bringing you joy anymore, get rid of it and replace it with something that is. Life's too short to not enjoy your gardens. So this will find a new home in a garden somewhere in my neighborhood. And now for the tricky part, getting it out of that container and into this hole. You know what? I'm gonna need my rose gloves for this. It's pretty thorny. These are the women's work gauntlet gloves, and they're great for protecting your forearms. I happen to be allergic to rose prickles, so when I get scratched, I am covered in welts, and it's just an itchy mess, and it's just miserable for days. So these are great for solving that problem. And so I did a video last year with a good friend of mine who's trained Olympic athletes, and my focus was warming up for things like this, when you're bent over and protecting your back and strengthening your body so that you can garden for as long as possible, injury-free. So when you're doing stuff like this, you wanna make sure you're not going in it with a cold body. You wanna warm up, so you can check out that video. I'll link to it below. Oh, here we go. There we go. I did it. So now the trick is getting this in the planting hole and planting it at the same depth it was at in the container. And like I said earlier in the video, you don't have to worry about there being a bud union because these are own root roses, which is excellent for cold climate gardeners because you don't have to worry about protecting that bud union. If it dies to the ground, the roots on this plant are the same, will produce the same plant on top. So grafted roses, it's not the same story. Grafted roses, whatever rootstock you have on the bottom, a lot of times it's one called, I think it's Dr. Huey is a popular one. So you'll have Dr. Huey rootstock on the bottom, and you'll have your rose variety, different rose variety on the top. So if that grafted rose dies to the ground, you'll end up with the rootstock rose, which is going to be the Dr. Huey or whatever that rootstock was that was used. That's not the case with an own root rose. So I like that, being in a cold climate gardener and not having to be concerned about any kind of dieback and not having the same rose come up from year to year. That's an improvement already. I am so excited and I can't wait to watch this to grow in and be absolutely gorgeous. It smells terrific. But I mulched it and now the key is just keeping it watered. And for fall planting, fall is excellent for planting and as long as you stay on top of watering. So your soil is nice and warm, you've got the cooler air temperatures so your plants are not going to be as stressed. Your hose should be the last thing you store for the winter time. You want to water right up until the ground is frozen, and that just helps ensure that the plant goes into winter with enough moisture around its roots so that it doesn't dry out and die over the winter months. And it's a long winter here in the Chicago area. So I am really excited about this rose filling in, and I'm looking forward to finding another one to replace the other French vanilla hibiscus over there. Now it's time to go post the hibiscus to my HOA website and see who picks it up. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.